Okay, so Daniel Sandy, like I said, is 25 years young and on a mission to leave an impact of love on the world, living a life fully sober, recently celebrating 4 years. He aims to inspire a younger generation to root into their internal compass and learn to deepen their awareness on life. So that is Daniel Sandy. His talk today is called Surrendering to Fear. Take it away, my friend.
And I was really doubting myself for a minute. I texted Rhoda last night and I was like, should we expand on that bio some more? I feel like there's some more oomph there. And but you know what, it came out really well. And so thank you for reading that. And thank you everybody who's tuned on and watching today. So I need to start with a confession. My confession is I had been putting in some work to put together points for how I wanted to deliver this to all of you today. And I know that a big piece of it was actually pulled away from the free gift that I'm going to be sharing with you at the end of this. And what came of it is as I continued to watch the speakers, and I think that I hit everybody. I might have missed like half of one over the last 2 days. Had my AirPods in even when I was doing stuff. And I threw most of it out this morning because I really felt that for this to be the most impactful that it could be for not only myself, but for all of you watching, this message and this delivery of surrendering to fear had to really come from what's happening in my chest right now. And normally when I step into opportunities, and I have stepped into opportunities to speak just over 12 times now, you know, in the States and Canada, for audiences of 50 up to 300. And normally this tension doesn't exist. And this is me sitting into that fear. This is me understanding that for some reason, this message that I've been creating and the person that I have really stepped into over the last 8 months is still so new to me that it bubbles this fear in my chest. And so this is raw, this is uncut. I have about 2 things that I'm going to pull off of a piece of paper, and the rest is all from my heart to yours. So thank you for being here. I wanted to give an extra moment to just reflect and to give you guys some perspective and context for really how I got here and what has created the Daniel that you see before me. And we're going to go way back to 1995 and for the first 10 years of my life, especially, and just letting you all know that, you know, I was raised in an incredible household. I've got 2 younger brothers, a mom and a dad, and I grew up in St. Albert. And I tell you this perspective because I grew up with this understanding and this told way of life that when you were raised in this environment and when you were raised in the neighborhood that I was, and when your parents had the jobs that they did and everything went well, that your life was supposed to turn out like this. And it didn't. And it didn't. And what a lot of people don't know about me, because for so long I put on this facade, I put on this face, and I masked what was going on actually behind my eyes, in my mind, in my heart, was that I lived in fear for almost my entire life, and still do in some ways. And I'm still working on discovering for myself where that fear originated. Because by textbook definition, I had one of the best upbringings that you could ever imagine. You know, we were fully engaged in sports and activities. My parents were involved with us. My dad showed us techniques and skills and implanted nuggets of entrepreneurship and hard work ethic. And my mom was one of the most nurturing, loving, supporting moms that I've met. And I'm a little bit biased in that. And so how did I go into the world living so much of it in fear? You know, I feared being bullied. I feared not making the team. I feared not being loved, even though I got so much of it in every single aspect at home and from friends and family. I feared not getting the job. I feared losing the girl. I feared that my business would fail as I navigated later into life. And how many can relate to feeling fear around one of those things or something similar? So as I moved through life a bit more and, you know, had some interesting opportunities and lessons and learning experiences, I started to realize that I was scared a lot, like a lot. And this was about high school. I was like, damn, like I really have been running away from a lot of shit because I'm scared of it. And I didn't know exactly why, but I knew that I didn't like what was happening. I didn't like that I was at the bottom of the food chain. I didn't like that I was still getting picked on. I didn't like that people wouldn't see me for who I wanted to be seen, or that I was overly emotional. And I buried so much stuff for fear of being judged for who I was. And because of that, I stepped into somebody who I was not. And I took this thing of fear and I labeled it almost like a person. And when it appeared, the mask dropped over my face and I would puff my chest out. And whatever it was, I would hit right into it. And this was my way of saying to myself and to everybody else, you cannot stop me. I'm big, I'm strong, I'm powerful, I'm confident, nothing's gonna get in my way. And it was the biggest load of horse shit ever. That is raw and uncut right there. It was so fake. It was so fake because inside I'm moving through and I'm navigating through these moments and opportunities where fear would arise, and I'm totally disregarding why it's there. All I see is that it's there and I don't want it there. And so I would run right through it. And, you know, in my later teens and into my 20s, this rapidly grew into associating itself, this pushing through, this diving through, this slamming through the barriers of fear. It quickly became attached to substances. So in grade 12, now I was a pretty innocent kid, pretty much all through junior high school and into high school. Never snuck out, never drank, never smoked, never did drugs. Actually walked away from some of my best friends growing up because they would have alcohol at parties. You know, the most I ever did was kiss a girl, not even make out. And in grade 12, something snapped because I became this different person. I started running through these obstacles with this fake confidence, with this massive ego that would just run me into different directions. And I went full throttle into doing what I thought was cool. And I started drinking and I started sneaking out and I started partying and I started going out 4 to 5 nights a week, even on school nights, and being up to all hours in the morning, and sometimes still showing up at school intoxicated the next day. And what this showed me was, even when something came up, I had to push through it again. Or what it built into my belief system was, as I became more and more and more intoxicated and more kind of understanding that, oh my goodness, like when I have this drink, when I have this whatever, I can go do something because I'm not scared of it, or because it numbs out the pain. And something created there, this dependency to substances formed out of fear of not wanting to be myself. So I was so done living in fear that all I wanted to do was just puff my chest out and just bring on this full fake confidence, which I really didn't realize at the time was fake confidence. And so how this transitioned was, I lived in this rapid lifestyle, very, 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 very rapid. When something showed up that I didn't like, I would move through it as quickly as possible. Get this out of my way. I don't want you. I will complete you. I will set you aside. Get out. If I'm scared of you, move. Like, I'll bust right through you. And what this did, and what this told me, was that I want to live for the next moment. I want to live for what's right there. I don't want to live for what's right here. And so I started throwing things away and I started living for what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next, that I forgot that the lessons, the vulnerability, the connection, the love, the purpose, it all exists in the present moment. And things like fear and other raw emotions like anger or jealousy or whatever it is, these more sub-level emotions pop up to try to take us out of the moment. They try to take us away from what we're currently experiencing so that we get lost. We start navigating down the networks of roads to the left and to the right. We start moving away from what actually we want to do. So I remember a few times vividly in my life where I wanted so much to be up on stage and to be playing a sax solo in front of my school or my peers. Or I wanted to go try out for the volleyball team because I'm 6 foot something and I've probably got some good height advantage on that. And what would show up was the fear of you're not enough. People aren't going to take you seriously. You haven't practiced this. What do you think that you're doing? You think that you can just walk into this? How many of you have had the experience where you want something so strong, you want something so bad, and this fear creeps into the back of your mind and whispers in your ear that you cannot have it? Right? Yeah. So what I started to learn, especially in the last 8 months, which is my gratitude goes to the world and back with Integrity Seminars and with my connection with Roto and the teachings and the friendship that I've developed with Ryan and just what I've been able to learn from that, because I feel like in the last 8 months, I was able to understand that fear is a figment of our imagination, really. And it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to believe it. And that the fear has a reason, like everything else in life. And as I put the pieces together, I realized that we're supposed to experience these emotions and these sticking points for a reason. And that's where part of the surrender comes in. Because when I lived in that fight mentality of, let me get through this, I don't want to be here anymore, get out of my way. If fear shows up, I'm just going to run right through it. I'm going to take the shot. I'm going to take the puff. I'm going to do the line, whatever it was. I'm going to get right through it. It does nothing but make the fear bigger. So I go back to this saying of feel the fear and do it anyways. I feel like this is misinterpreted. I feel like this is misspoken in a way, because how myself and how a lot of people in my life have interpreted this as, oh my God, I'm scared of something. Okay, I'm just going to do it. Oh my God, this scares me. I'm just going to run right into it. And what that does is if we don't take that moment, and when I didn't take that moment to acknowledge, why is this here right now? What purpose does this fear have? Why is it cycling around in my experience? It's not just to push through it. It's to truly sit with it and understand, is there another emotion? Is there a limiting belief? Is there a deeper rooted trauma, something from a recent experience or something from the past that is causing this to appear? And when we choose to just run right through it, the only thing that tells that fear is that you didn't hear me, next time I'm going to be bigger. You didn't understand this, next time I'm showing up stronger. And that becomes scary. That becomes scary because if we continue to move through this without acknowledging what's actually at the root, at some point, we might not have the mental discipline to keep on pounding through it. We might not have the body armor or the liquid courage to assist us in navigating into what's next. And when those weapons and armor get stripped away and we're faced with this monster of a thing that we have created by not acknowledging it for what it is, that's when we get knocked on our ass. And so that's exactly what happened. So on October 17, 2016, I was given a choice. I want to say that I made a decision, but for those of you who know me, There was no decision. It was a choice, and it was get sober or get out. And that was directly from the mouth of my father, who I had moved in with him and his buddy after my parents had separated the year previous. And he had watched his son deteriorate to the point that hospitalization was almost a regular occurrence. So in that moment, once again, I looked at that situation and I said, I'm scared. I'm scared because I don't want to lose my connection with my dad. I'm scared because I don't want to be put out onto the streets. I'm scared because of this, this, and this. And so I moved through it once again. And as soon as the clarity came to my mind that maybe I was doing something wrong for the years previous, it was a little too late. So one of my coin terms, and one of the things that you'll hear a lot is, everybody knows the liquid courage story, right? Everybody knows that, you see somebody cute at the bar, you see somebody wherever it is, normally where alcohol is consumed, not just you're walking down the street, you just take a shot out of your Mickey and then go approach somebody. But that liquid courage was such a maneuver for me to talk with women. And that was where I built a lot of false confidence. And what I didn't realize was not even just the talking to women aspect, but just conversing with people in general. Like, I think that I'm pretty well spoken. I thought that I was really well spoken a few years ago. And looking back, that was complete shit, because a lot of it was stemmed from I was under the influence of something that brought down that guard and disregarded the fear. So when I got sober, things like, and as simple as sitting down with my bank associate to go over a credit card application or a loan payment, I would just completely choke up because there's a woman across from me and I don't have a drink. How am I supposed to do that? That's a perfect example of that fear got so big that it was unmanageable without that armor. It was unmanageable without that shot, without that puff, without that line. And I had to sit in that. And I had to experience full on what it felt like to fail in the face of fear. So that's just one example. The last 4 years have been an accumulation of different tipping points along those lines. And I'm sure even some of you can understand what it felt like to fail or to freeze in the face of fear when you thought that you had everything going for you. And because there might not have been an acknowledgement of what actually wasn't there, when it became real, you just checked out. So now into the integration part of it, which I'm really excited about, because Rayanne and Integrity did a really beautiful job of breaking me out of my shell and doing something so beautiful where when I got sober, I dove into personal development head on. I spent probably $15,000 to $20,000 in courses, seminars, books, traveling to go to different conferences across North America. And I got gifted the level 1 program last June. And I walked out of that and I looked at Rayanne and I said, I don't know what the F you just did, but I'd pay you for everything that I just invested in the last 4 years. Because not only did you teach me new and valuable information that made me really take a hard look at my life, but you went ahead and showed me how to become aware of it and how to integrate it into my existence. Knowledge and awareness has been two things that come out of my mouth quite frequently. And it wasn't until that moment that it became so real, that the awareness of the information is everything. It's one thing to know, it's another thing to be aware. So I made a little memento on my wrist. I've got awareness on my left wrist to keep me tethered into that. So I moved through level 1, was completely in love with this process, and I said, I'm ready to go next. And so still navigating a little bit of some toxicity as far as how I operated in my life, how I navigated and pushed through fear, and some of the things that weren't fully keeping me accountable to the knowledge and the awareness, and then the application that I had the power of doing. And so I walked into level 2. And Right, I love that. I walked into level 2 right after I got rocked. On my 25th birthday, July 8, 2020, I got presented with a sit down from my 2 business partners. And what we thought was going so well with our industry and COVID turned out to be a 6-figure negative across our books on the 8th of July. The fear that sat in me, the fear that I held on to around that. First of all, nobody ever wants to see 6 figures with a negative sign in front of it, okay? Let's all manifest some beautiful 6 figures in the positive direction, but not this one. So I walk into level 2 crippled with fear. And what is the topic and the conversation of level 2? FEAR. Face everything and rise. Okay, I get it. We're doing this. We're gonna step through this. We're gonna build some healthy habits. We're gonna go through this thing. And what I pulled out of it was 3 of the most important concepts, and one of which, Ran, I hope you don't mind, I'm gonna put a little twist on it. But normally, we navigate fear when it comes into our lives in 3 ways. We fight, we flight, or we freeze. That's our initial response. Boom, just like that. What I did for most of my life was fight. 80% of it was all fight. The other 20%, when I couldn't fight anymore, and when I had been either beaten to a pulp or tripped up because of the own lies that I told come out of my mouth, I would run away in the opposite direction. And what I found out was that more often than not, it all ends in freeze. Because when we have no energy to fight, no more armor, no more weapons, when we don't have enough strength to keep running, all we can do is lay back and freeze. So as I moved through the process and understood that fear and how we might integrate that and how it might come through us in experience, I said, okay, I get the face everything and rise. I get that. But how can we maybe switch this up a bit? Because fight, flight, and freeze all sound like a kind of a negative response to this. So in pairing with, what I learned and deepening into a little bit more of how I was responding, I realized that the only way to move through fear is to stop and free your mind. And that comes through with surrender. Pretty good little memories that I keep on my wrist here, hey? And so what does it mean to surrender? What it means to surrender, at least what I thought, was when you have nothing left, when your army is depleted, when your weaponry is gone, when you're at the end of your rope, you surrender, you wave the white flag. Okay, I'm done. I've had enough. That's what I thought surrender meant for most of my life. There's no way that I would have ever thought that surrendering was actually to be still and to experience things objectively for what they are. To take a moment and place yourself above, to lift yourself up and to view the situation for exactly what it is. So a couple things. We live in Alberta, at least most of us do. Who's ever got stuck in the snow? I know that every time that I get stuck in the snow or I put my winter tires on too late, it is always on the day where I have the most stuff to do. And I woke up late, or my alarm clock didn't go off, or I've made these excuses that start my day in a flurry. And then the fear kicks in. Oh my goodness, I'm not gonna make it. I'm gonna be late. You look outside, holy shit, it's snowing. Where did 3 feet of snow come from overnight? Or the world's gonna be okay? Are people gonna be driving crazy? And you get into your vehicle and you're a kilometer out and you get stuck at some intersection, or you get stuck before you even leave the parkade. This experience happens, this fear had bubbled up, and now it manifested itself into, most of the time, my initial reaction was, and going off the lip, right? Making phone calls, telling people that I can't effing do this anymore. Go on without me, trying to call AMA, trying to get something out, and it just explodes. What started off as a turbulent moment in the chest manifested into the mind and created a reality that was so destructive that it threw me off for the rest of the day. Heck, it might have thrown me off even for the rest of the week. So we root back into that surrender idea. We take a moment to just breathe. Just to experience it for what it is. In through the nose for 4. And out through the mouth for 4. And to see that what is happening right now isn't the truck got stuck, I'm going to be late, holy shit, what are they going to think of me? What's going to happen to the rest of it? I'm going to have to get new tires. It's going to cost me an arm and a leg. Oh my God, my bumper fell off. No. Because now we snowball. now we go so far down the road that we're completely off course. But what it means to surrender is the breath in a moment of turbulence, where you view it as the truck is stuck. That's it. What's next? Do I got any cardboard in the back? A shovel? Some sand? Can I enroll the help of somebody else to get me out of this? And it spirals upwards instead of down the hill in the form of a snowball. Let's take another aspect of that. Oh my goodness, they broke up with me. I got cheated on. Oh my goodness, my boss just fired me. What is going to happen from that? If we do not sink into that, if we do not surrender in that moment, it's going to be, I'm totally unlovable. Nobody's ever going to love me again. How am I going to find somebody as perfect as they were? Oh my goodness, like, what am I going to do for work? You know, this COVID thing is making it so difficult to find work right now, and I'm going to be unemployed for the next 6 months. Again, that snowball goes. So to breathe and to see it is exactly as it is. It is just a breakup. It is just a loss of a job. It is just. And to surrender to that gives us the ability to form a perspective that will put us in the proper trajectory of what we actually want. What I actually want is to show up in the world as a purposeful, creative, and loving man. That is what I want. That is what I desire. That is what I'm going to create. And when I get caught up in the fear, when I get caught up in the emotion, when I get caught up in this unserving BS, it takes me away from that, and I live in that fear. I live in that emotion. I live in that turmoil. Nothing beautiful gets created from turmoil. Let's be honest with that. So, fear and surrender. When I took a closer look at how these two things totally intertwined, it was beautiful. Because a lot of times, at least in my journey, when beautiful new things were to be created in my life, I was usually scared in some way, shape, or form. When I was 18 years old, I started my own online business. And I was scared that my friends wouldn't like me. I was scared that my parents wouldn't support me. I was scared that I wasn't going to make enough money to pay the bills. I was scared to leave my job because I wasn't going to make enough bills. And when I took that and it snowballed further, when I came up in 21, 22, starting my own business, looking at my business and how it failed last summer, now being able to step into these moments of, this is the situation. I was scared of the outcome. I was fearful of losing my independence. I was fearful of not having enough money to make the ends meet at the end of the month. And to breathe into it allows for proper alignment. So part of my free gift it's got a bit of a story attached to it. So about 4 weeks ago, Roto called me And I was on site helping my dad with his nonprofit. And he calls me and he goes, "Hey man, really excited. Just wanted to share, it's Integrity's 20th anniversary next month." And I was like, "Oh my God, like, congratulations. That's phenomenal. Like, I had no idea. I didn't even realize it had been around for that long. That's awesome. Like, what are you guys doing?" And he goes, "Well, we're putting together this growth summit and we're going to be bringing some speakers in, and it's just going to be really awesome. It's going to be really impactful because everybody that's talking has gone through the work in some way, shape, or form." And I go, "Man, that's awesome. Like, I'd love to be, like, I can't wait to watch it." And he goes, "Well, how would you like to be a part of it?" And for the first time, when somebody had asked me to speak, my heart sank. My heart sank. The fear was there. Oh, I'm so raw right now, man. I've just gone through all this transformation. I don't even know who I was 8 months ago, let alone who I am now. I'm still navigating through all this stuff. What's going to happen? My instinct kicked in of say yes and figure it out later. So I said, "Yeah, of course. Like, I'd love to. Like, this would be a fantastic opportunity." I said, "What do I need to have prepared?" He goes, "Well, a lot of the people that are going to be speaking are, they've done really well. We've got some business coach, we got some life coaches, we've got people that are working through navigating more spirituality and deepening connection, and they're offering different aspects of their service, whether it's a discount or whether it's a gift to some of their programs." And I sat back and I'm like, "Well, I'm not like a speaker or a coach. I own a product sourcing and manufacturing company, and I guess I could give away a discount if somebody wants to source some Amazon products." And so as I'm like sitting with this and it's kind of bubbling up, like, sure, I could speak at this thing, but what am I going to do? And so that kind of brushed away. And the next day I called Roto because I was in full freak out mode. I go, "Roto, I have no idea what to give away for this. Like, can you help me brainstorm some ideas?" And he goes, "Sure, man. Why don't you write a book?" Yeah. I got 4 weeks. I'm gonna write a book. Yeah, that sounds like an excellent idea, my friend. And so I literally laughed it off. I was like, "There's no way that like congratulations, man. You wrote your first book. You did well with it. I'm not ever gonna be able to navigate that." And then I stepped back for a second. I said, "Okay, here's the fear. The fear is I don't have the time. The fear is it's not going to be well received. The fear is I'm not good enough or I don't have enough to say that will make an impact on somebody's life." And when I sat with that fear, that's what came up. And for every point that my mind formulated an idea of a "you're not good enough," or "nobody's going to want to listen to you," or "what if you're judged? What if you're criticized?" And I calmly said back to my mind, but what if it's well received? What if it's a beautiful lesson that comes out of this? What if I get to deepen my connection with myself? What if at least one person listens to this talk or reads the book that I was supposed to write and takes something away from it? What if? And so I went in search of creating that possibility. I surrendered to that emotion. I figured out what the limiting belief was. I talked myself away from it, knowing what my highest and best is, and I moved forward. So I called up my friend Matt, and he does my content creation for Instagram. And I go, "Matt, I got to write this book, man. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. You want to help me?" And he goes, "No, dude, I don't write books, but I'll make it look pretty for you. Let me send you to my friend Sydney." I get in contact with Sydney, and before I knew it, we're navigating this whole journey of putting pen to paper, fingers to keyboards. And within the first week, I had almost 2,000 words on the piece of paper. And I go, "Holy smokes." And then some fear bubbled up. And I go, "Sydney, I don't think I can do this anymore." And she goes, "Okay, well, why don't you try surrendering to that and then ask yourself that one more time and then come and call me back." And so through this process, as I was pulling these ideas and as I was pulling these nuggets out of my mind, this beautiful reflection of not only my life, but how to integrate fear and understand the fight, flight, and freeze. How to recognize that fear is more than likely attached to the ego. And they're enemies, but they're in this toxic relationship of the ego wants to be right, and the fear will kind of help you get there because it's bigger than what you want to create, right? So when the fear bubbles up and the ego goes, ah, man, like I can't do this. And the fear goes, yeah, you're right. You can't do this. And then it goes ahead and it puts you into this self-doubt and this just pity pool. So to get into the wrapping up of this, I wrote the book. It's called Surrendering to Fear. My free gift to each of you is I'd like to give you this. And it's about 19 pages long in an ebook format. And it is something that I'm so proud of. It is something that I'm so proud of because it took this battle, this lifelong battle that I went through all through my life, into my teenage years and into my 20s. And it put it in a way that is not only consumable, a little bit funny, because if you know me, you know me, but also pulls out some really beautiful points to help other people navigate through what it feels like to experience fear, and also what it feels like to surrender to that and move forward into a beautiful transition. So when I started this call, I told you I had nothing planned. I told you that I threw it all out. And this tension and this fear in my chest was so strong, was so powerful. And in that moment, I chose to surrender. I chose to listen to what the voice was saying and to tell it wrong. You can't do this. You don't have anything rehearsed. You haven't practiced any of this. You can't speak from your heart. That's not powerful enough. Yes, it is. And it will be. And it's going to leave an impact on somebody's life, even if it's just that much. So here we are. We're about 7 minutes from the end, and my heart and my chest feel completely clear. Because I looked at the fear, I saw it for what it was, and instead of blasting through it, instead of running away from it, instead of sitting on the camera going, like somebody was going to take a screenshot, I wanted to see what would show up differently.